The new channel. The new channel. Hashtag TNC Now.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following shows are those of the host, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning. Hello and good morning. Welcome to the new channel, here to help you see the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, your host to this wonderful program, the HR Hotline. Hello again and good morning. Direct, sorry I got a little bit bung up with our intro, but this time I will not forget the how many days are we from Christmas? I think it's 49 or 48 days. It's 48 days, and let me peep. Yes, it's 48 days before Christmas. Yes. So let me continue. I'm a little bit still ngarag because I just came from a webinar. I was not the one actually facilitating it, but I attended it because it was Sarili and Idirene, and it was the lead con in PMAP. So I was actually in a hurry to join uh, our live streaming this lunchtime. And after this, I have another webinar with the consultancy that I am doing, and I'm going to do what we call it's a leadership. It's actually employee competencies and leadership development program. So it's a Saturday, it's a full day, it's a whole day. And to think that I just turned 65 last Wednesday, and it is I can now really I claim that life begins at 60, and you are at your fullest when you are 65. And look, I'm so busy that sometimes I am already fretting because I cannot do my gardening anymore. Yes. Okay, so this time we are going to continue what we discussed and then move on to another topic. Another topic. Um, Before I continue, let me greet uh, Ma'am Virgie. Ma'am Virgie is here. Virgie Mendoza is a dear friend. She's a trustee of the People Management Association of the Philippines and very much engaged with the CSR committee. I just viewed their video. Okay, so let me continue. We were discussing last time uh, employee experience. And as mentioned by our guest, who is again our guest in today's episode, I mentioned about the dimensions of employee uh, experience, which is culture, the space, the physical space, and then the workspace, culture, and then technology. Okay, we were not able to discuss more on culture. But let me continue. Let me continue before I ask Patrick to join me. Um, yes, we have been doing what you call employee engagement, but we need more than that because of the pandemic. Employee engagement was more of an initiative coming from HR, trying to make people happy, trying to make people engaged. I don't know if you were really hitting it right. Engagement is actually for your productivity, engagement is actually for your performance. So actually, that one of having parties, having what do you call this, masses, basketball. I don't know if you can align it with their performance. That is engagement. But this time, we because of the pandemic, and it was realized it just has been a practice even before the pandemic. We are now looking into what we call the experience. We mentioned that there is what we call the great resignation or what we call the great attrition. And one of the reasons for that is people are getting accustomed for working from home, so they would like really to work if they are in what you call hybrid hour, WS, WFI, working from home, WFH. And then of course that one of there are a lot of opportunities that they can move and then work offshore. And then of course this is a reason for management, for leaders not actually managing them well. So this is actually the problem, the experience. And to be blunt about it, it's just like we are really just after the results, the performance. Then when the only occasion that we deal with our employees is asking them of the result, the not even the outcome, neither the impact, just the result. And then of course, tao rin po yung empleyado. They will think that they didn't even ask me how I felt doing that. Remember, they're doing it alone, and that is already what you call uh, completed stuff work. So let us continue discussing now. Employee experience, zeroing in on um, culture. But before I call on Patrick, I can see that Mr. Ryan Navarro of Davao is also here. Ryan, you join us. Magandang tanghali. Yes, yes, Ryan. Okay. So, Direct, can we now ask Mr. Patrick Patriwirawan? Yes, that's an Indonesian uh, family name, the OAC director of ILS in Dole. Yes. Okay. Now, the reason for I invited him, not that he is an executive of Dole, because he teaches in UP. Yun, the one that struck me, he teaches in UP, HR. So sabi ko, we can ask him to share what it teaches to their students. Even we call ourselves seasoned, kailangan pa rin natin ng something not innovative, something new, hindi naman new, something yung update us. So, Patrick is here to update us. Patrick, let us continue with, nabitin tayo dun sa culture. Okay. What are your insights on how we are going to what do you call this? Reinvent, develop a culture that will really be aligned to what you call employee experience. Patrick?
Thank you, Sir Jesse. Thank you again for having me. So, probably before we zero into the concept of or the dimension of cultural environment in employee experience, no, I just wanted to share with you also the program I teach in UP Manila. So I'm handling behavioral science. It's the course number is Behavioral Science 183. It's an introduction to human resource management, and it's a different kind of human resource management subject because it's actually an applied disciplinary approach in behavioral science. No, in behavioral science, we talk about or we look into three disciplinary approaches: psychology, sociology, and anthropology. And understanding and behavioral science is basically understanding human behavior and applying it in the human resource management perspective is actually looking into behavior of people in the workplace in the context of an
Right.
industrial organization. So, very relevant to the topic of cultural environment, no, is that one disciplinary approach in behavioral science, which is anthropology. And we all know, probably some of us know, that anthropology is the study of man, no, culture itself, and it's important in understanding human behavior in the workplace. And a lot of things that we need to consider in looking at the cultural dimension, no, of especially of employee experience focuses on the individual's moments while that individual is in the organization. And so we say there are moments that are specific, no, such as when an individual starts his or her first day. There are ongoing moments where actually the relationship between the manager and the employee builds and he or she continues to perform and deliver. And there are created moments where, of course, HR provides programs, activities, and interventions
Patrick,
such as
this is
training.
anthropological. Patrick, this is anthropology.
Yes, yes.
And
And well,
the first one that
basically,
you mentioned was behavioral. Well, let me ask you. The first one is you mentioned about
behavioral
three.
science.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is anthropology. Yes, yes. Please continue. Please continue.
Yes, sorry, sir. Yeah. So, from an anthropological perspective, no, we look at human behavior in the workplace, trying to see how we can actually align the individual's culture with the organizational culture. I think that's one important role of HR. And then another aspect, if I can just further discuss the other disciplines, but very briefly lang din, no? Sociology looks into group dynamics, no, and how an individual is affected by institutions, social institutions, and other external factors that actually influences his or her behavior while he is in the workplace. So that includes social interaction with one colleague or groups of people or other departments or other units in the organization. And finally, psychology, of course, the very popular side or dimension of HR, in psychology is looking into the individual's at
Psych-
what's this? I forgot. Knowledge,
Psyche.
skills, and attitudes. No, those the emotions, no, the affective, cognitive, and behavioral aspect of the individual. So that all those three disciplinary approaches contribute to our understanding in human resource management. But just going back again to our topic on cultural environment, sir, of course, this is very important in trying to understand employee experience. When we talk about employee experience, we talk about the various moments of the individual's life in the organization. And as I mentioned earlier, it has different significant moments, if we can say that. You have specific, ongoing, and even created moments. No, and that is where HR should look into. How we can build on that, creating a cultural environment that reflects the organization's values. No? So, for example, talking about cultural environment should look into creating a sense of purpose for the employees. No? It should also look into fair treatment in the workplace. And it could also look into making sure that our people have coaches and mentors, that we can go to. And of course, that feeling of being valued in the organization and being part of a team. All those aspects or variables actually contribute to creating that type of cultural environment we want in the workplace.
Okay, and that is anthropological.
Yes,
Patrick,
sir. That's one.
you know,
Yes.
I would really go deeper into that. I don't know if you're still at time. Anyway, it's a Saturday. I would like to invite next Saturday on screen Jerry and Obet and you, so that we can discuss that on those aspects. Because this is more on OD. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Because a lot of HR would like to go into that, but we have to go into something that is basic, and that is actually say the sociology portion, that one of the psychology portion, and that one of I'm calling it portion, but that aspect, and then the
Yes.
anthropological aspect, so that we can develop. we can develop. These are actually the foundation. Obet is here, and I'm very sure he has lots of thoughts on this. But thank you for giving that to us. And Jerry Plan is here. Jerry, Obet, can we be together with Patrick next Saturday? May I ask a question? Can we request Patrick to identify critical employee moments in one's employee's life cycle that needs to be managed well? Oh, nagtanong si Jerry. Oh, well, anyway, before you answer that, I would like to invite the three of you and the four of us. We discuss this, and then correct me if I am wrong. This is actually the foundation of trying to develop, say, that the culture, the anthropological aspect, the psychological aspect, and the sociological aspect. Am I right or am I wrong? Teach me. Tama ba ako, Patrick? Dapat ito muna ang given ng isang HR. Patrick, nag-free si Patrick. I think that is actually what is the given for every HR, na dapat mayroon kang background on anthropology, background on that. It's not that you really have to be a say a master on take it up. Pero siguro what you can do is try to self-study, Google it, and then kasi ang tanong ko nga, how to develop. I have been teaching, I have been doing things. Ang tanong is where will you start? What will be the given? Nandyan si Jerry, nandyan si Obet. At marami kaming may share. But for say an HR, not even HR kasi that is not actually it's your KRA, pero it's not actually, you're not supposed to actually do that. It's actually all the leadership in the organization. Pero how will you start? Saan ka kukuha ng hugot? So maganda na pinasok yun ni Patrick. Direct nawawala si Patrick. May tanong si Yeah, Patrick, are you back? Yes. Can you answer the question? I know you were able to listen to what I was saying, di ba? Yes. Okay, yes, Patrick. Yung tanong ni PP Jerry.
Oh, sorry, sir. I was cut off. May problema ata sa internet connection ko. Anyway, sir.
Yeah.
So, right. So just to answer the question po, no, I mentioned earlier that it's important to identify moments in the life of an individual in the organization. And what we refer to as moments include three things. No, as I mentioned earlier, one is specific moments. This could include your first day in your job, your promotion, or your day of transfer in another division or unit or department, or it could probably be your last day. So those are specific moments. And then there are ongoing moments which are also critical, no, in identifying where we can actually improve interventions. And that ongoing moments include, for example, our coaching sessions with our employees, or even coaching and mentoring sessions, moments where we interact directly with colleagues in the workplace on a day-to-day basis. And the last one is created moments. So you have specific moments, you have ongoing moments, and you have created moments. These created moments are where actually HR takes a bigger role. These created moments are, for example, your socials, or your organization celebrations in the organization, or that could probably be your year-end party and team building activity. So these are created moments. And so all these three moments are moments in the life of an individual in the organization that we need to look into, and how we can actually influence experience, improving their experience while they are in the organization.
Okay, so moving forward, just a question nyo, kasi I just came from a webinar. Si Sarin nagsalita yung creativity and innovation. So dito papasok yung how HR can be creative and innovative with these moments. Kasi
Yes.
mahirap naman that the moments are expected. Diba? You have been doing that for the last 15 years.
Yes, sir.
I can just imagine when I was in ito chismoso talaga ako. In Inquirer, ang mga party namin Patrick, usually ay pansit, uh, what do you call this? Dunkin' Donuts, yung
Ah,
pansit alam mo for the past 10 years. So hindi na moment, hindi na something. So dito papasok na you have to be creative and you have to really reinvent it in the moment. Okay. Was I right that
yes.
I mentioned that these three are actually the foundation? Diyan ka hugot to develop the culture. Let's go back to the culture. So with this given, ano na dapat ang gagawin? Come up na with activities and programs. Or
Well,
magsa-survey ka muna.
it's always good to get yung feel ng employees natin, sir. No? So it's important to do an analysis first of the organization. As I've been mentioning in our previous session, no, it's important to always look internally and try to understand what is currently happening in the organization, in the workplace, and get the feel of the people. And but of course, getting their feedback should already be strategic. Ano yung mga meaningful information that we need, no, for us to come up with more responsive HR interventions. No, and it could probably not just an HR intervention; it could already be an OD intervention. No, going beyond the HR functional areas. Baka the things that we need to do, especially in this time of pandemic, would already require us to look into developing the whole organization, transforming the whole organization. So yes, it's important to always get feedback from our employees, do an analysis first or an assessment, no, of the organization. And actually, it's also part of what I teach with my students, no, doing an organizational analysis. Yeah, it's a different subject.
Oo. So in a gist, so how they will do it kasi gito nga ang case natin is how to really develop it, how to really develop. Can you share with us, Patrick? How do you say just
Yes.
in a summary? Paano gawin?
Yes, we first and foremost we need to go back to the core values of the organization. No, we need to examine if our core values are still relevant, no, are still meaningful for us. No, and I think this is part of strategic planning that we do, no, in our organizations. From in a short-term or long-term approach, we try to review our core values and see if these are still relevant. And these are actually the areas that we need feedback from our employees or from our people. So we want to check, for example, if one of your core values includes integrity, excellence, or compassion. We try to look at operational variables to examine or determine whether we are able to apply, no, these values in our day-to-day experiences in the workplace. I think that's the first step that we need to do. No? Need to review our core values of the organization and see if there's a need for us to include more or probably delete some of the values that are no longer relevant or meaningful for us.
Yeah, so that means
That's important.
you really have to see if you're still aligned with the values that you have, and that if these are really applied and practiced. Now, pero sorry for interrupting you kasi di ba the usual that we do are interviews and they fill up a form, the what do you call this, the motivate what do you call that, the behavioral the regular questionnaire that they do. Sometimes it doesn't really the results are not actually indicative. Paano ang gagawin
Well,
natin?
yeah, there are actually a lot of methods to gather data information, no, and we're actually going towards doing research, no, which my area is in Dole. And in doing
Yeah.
research or in gathering information, no, there are a lot of ways to do that. No, we could actually do mixed methods. No, we can look into quantitative design by coming up with, of course, what we know, yung climate surveys, coming up with a questionnaire, identifying dimensions, no, kasi doon mas makikita natin agad yung kabuuan na nararamdaman ng buong organization. But to go deeper and understand fully why we have these data, or why we have these numbers that reflect the current situation of the organization, we need to do qualitative design. No? That actually helps us. We can actually do interviews, key informants in the organization, or focus group discussions, no,
Yeah,
or
yeah, that's
round table.
I'm waiting for that. Mas ano
Yes, so
siguro, mas effective ang focus group discussion ngayon. Ang
yes,
mahirap
and you
lang
can
virtual. Ang mahirap
and
lang
actually,
Patrick virtual.
sorry.
Ang mahirap lang virtual. Kaya paano mag-focus group discussion if they will not talk?
Totoo, sir. Actually, that's also one of our struggles in our research today, this year, no? Doing focus group discussion ng virtual. Pero what's important in doing focus group discussion is to make sure that we have the same, similarly situated ng mga groups of people. Mahirap kasi kapag we're bringing in together different peoples, it actually somehow, no, influences yung magiging responses. Kaya hindi maganda kapag pinagsasama natin si management and si employee sa focus group, no? We can probably dedicate one focus group for our people, our employees, another focus group for the managers, another focus group for supervisors, and we can even probably look into functional areas, no? One focus group for this department, and the rest. Parang pwede pong ganun. Depende naman. So we need to be strategic on how we can gather more meaningful information to help us in reviewing or assessing the organization.
Okay. And with that, you can come up, you can review and come up with your new programs and activities for your, for, pero alam mo mahirap kasi even if you have activities, if you're not really hitting what culture would like to be, to have, wala rin, di ba Patrick? Wala rin. Wala rin eh. Gaya ba yung nagpamisa, wala pa rin yung spirituality ng mga tao or nagbigay ng ano what do you call this, ayuda ng ayuda, wala pa rin yung talagang generosity ng tao. So I think that is there is a post here coming from Jerry. There are peculiar cultural codes that have to be explained and sometimes need to be unlocked so that everyone horizontally and vertically understand well and internalize these codes in terms of how everyone does their respective jobs via other jobs. These are part of the organizational culture. It's the philosophy, belief system, values, and the way of life inside the organization. What practical approaches and interventions so that HR department will establish and sustain hindi ko na makita yung sunod nun. Mahaba. Will be able to establish and sustain connection between principles of people management, leadership strategy to anthropology. Thank you. So the question is, what practical approaches and intervention so that the HR department will establish and sustain connection between principles of people management, leadership strategy to anthropology? Okay. Yeah. Would you like me to read again? Ang ganda ng question. There are peculiar cultural codes that have to be explained and sometimes need to be unlocked so that everyone horizontally and vertically understand well and internalize these codes in terms of everyone does their respective jobs via the others job. These are part of the organizational culture. It's philosophy. Yun. Kailangan yon. Dapat may philosophy. Belief system. Dapat yon. Dapat ay ma-identify ng mga leadership, not even HR lahat. Then values. Ang mahirap nito, yung values, ginawa lang ng management. It's not actually being, hindi consultative yung values na dapat ilagay. Usually, dadatnan mo na lang yung values eh. And then the way of life inside the organization. That one of the way of life in yung experience. What practical approaches, yun ang tanong, what practical approaches, nawala na ako, and intervention so that the HR department will establish and sustain the connection between principles of people management, leadership, and strategy. Yes, can we answer that,
Yes. Yes, sir, Jesse. I think
Ay,
yung
galing
critical
pala ito
role.
kay Obet. Galing pala ito kay Obet. Obet ito. Okay.
Okay po. So I think yung critical role dito ng HR in ensuring that we are getting the right information, or basically unlocking, no, yung sinasabi natin kanina sa comment. It's creating a safe space for our employees. I think for the longest time, people will always think HR as someone that polices organizations, no? taga-check kung nagko-comply ang mga tao and all that, no? Pero I think ang importanteng role dapat ng HR is creating that safe space for our employees. Aside from creating safe space, that's one way, of course, of unearthing ano yung mga issues or concerns ng employees that actually hinder yung individual development with organizational development. I think another is to make sure that these consultation or feedback mechanism are done regularly, basically institutionalized in the organization. Kadalasan kasi when we do all these assessment, we do it ng one time lang, no? Parang once a year,
Only
mayroong climate
the
survey, no, so dapat this should be regular and even distributed yung accountabilities, meaning hindi lang dapat si HR yung nagka-gather ng information. Even our line management should also, of course we understand our line management are also HR in their own ways, no. They also perform HR functions, no. So in terms of doing coaching and mentoring, it's actually already one way of getting information from them and do it on a regular basis. So I think importante creating a safe space for our employees, and then at the same time making sure that this is a regular activity. Hindi lang siya yung one-time activity that mawawala na lang bigla at hindi natin alam kung ano yung nagiging resulta. And then finally, of course, making sure that kung ano man yung information that we gather, we are able to be transparent and provide feedback or basically present no ano yung nakuha nating data or information, and we cascade it to everyone. I think yun yung mga practical approaches that we can make sure no, that everyone is aligned, no, especially when we talk about introducing change in organization. These are things that we need to make sure that we have in place: a safe space, a regular mechanism, no, and safe space and a regular feedback mechanism.
Wow, wow. Anyway, we still have a question here from Jerry. Pero ang nakikita ko, siguro another source of information will be from coaches and mentors. Diba? If the mentors and the coaches gives their regular report to whoever, siguro to HR, not na mag-chismis or not na magsibigay na it's a problem, but more on the positive way of what they need to do. That's another information to really look into the culture of an organization. Can we spot on Jerry's question? And after that, we'll have a break. Yes. Yes. What kind of employee experiences lead to high employee engagement scores? Yeah. What kind of employee experience lead to high employee? What exactly do we need to watch out for in values that lead to engagement? Is it alignment of personal and corporate values? Is it relevance of values? What standard can we use to say values are relevant or irrelevant? Nice questions. Alam mo, this has to be shared, and HR practitioners and students will learn a lot from this. Okay, go, Patrick, go.
All right. I think yung na-mention nyo kanina, sir, no, yung the conduct of or the process of coaching and mentoring actually plays an important role in this question. No, what kind of employee experience lead to high employee engagement? I think unang-una nga is to making sure that our people are valued or they are part of the team. And coaching and mentoring gives them that venue or opportunity to feel no that their voices are heard. Of course, we understand in coaching and mentoring, two things ang palagi natin tinitignan, no? Personal growth and professional growth. No? When we talk about professional growth, we look at their competencies, no? Ano yung mga interventions that are needed no? For them to be able to direct no yung career path nila towards whatever long term they have in mind, and at the same time also looking at their personal growth, discussing also ano yung issues that actually also affect no yung paano sila nagde-deliver in especially for those who are working from home. No, this is very critical in practicing coaching and mentoring, no, understanding most especially yung personal growth areas or concerns nila, no, because these are more meaningful for the individual. And what we want to make sure as coaches and mentors, no, is to align these personal growth with professional growth and look at saan pwede pwedeng mag-meet, no? Ano yung mga areas na mag-intersect both professional and personal growth, no? For example, in my case po, in our organization, no, when I do coaching and mentoring, and or when I actually ask people about their professional and personal growth concerns, no, it will always look into, syempre yung task namin is to do research, no, and on an organizational level, our deliverables require us for them to be able to come up with a particular research. On a personal level, yung kanilang personal targets or plans includes, for example, being able to present this in an international forum or publishing it in a referee journal and all that. So aligning all these, no, will and doing that feedback, no, actually gives us that information, meaningful information to align both personal and professional growth concerns.
Somebody's trying to call you. Well, anyway, can you give us a glimpse of an answer to what Jerry is asking us? What kind of employee experience lead to high employee engagement scores? What exactly do we need to watch out for in values that lead to engagement? Is it alignment of personal or corporate values? Yun. So,
Yes,
sabi,
yes,
sabi dito ni
yes,
Jerry, in short, what we're saying is intrinsic in motivation. Motivation, purpose, strongly, but is saying intrinsic motivation, purpose, autonomy, and growth, mastery in the more sustainable way of improving employee engagement. Yes, yes, yes. Can you read it
yes,
also? Yes.
yes, Sir Jerry. Tama po yan. Opo. And of course, when we're actually trying to look into employee experience, there are a lot of factors. No, it could be yung competency nila, yung connectedness nila with the organization. No, and trying to look at how we can address both personal and professional growth in terms of their competencies, and their connectedness in the organization. And marami ng variables ang involved dito that we can actually look into. No, for example, sa area ng sa competencies pa lang, no, when we try to look at personal and professional growth, no, we look at competencies that will help them develop in the next career path na gusto nilang kunin, or actually move horizontally within the organization, try to learn new things, no. So and on a personal level, no, look into ano yung mga gusto nilang ma-achieve, no, anong mga skill sets, are these lifelong learning skills or any other skill sets na kailangan nila on a personal level. So I think yung making it meaningful for the employee will always require us asking them, what do you value the most? Ano yung career plans mo? Ano yung personal growth or targets na gusto mong ma-achieve while you are in the organization? And getting that information will already help us direct them towards the professional aspect naman, business goals, business targets, and all that.
Right, right. We'll have a break, but we read first the questionnaire coming from Obet, and then we'll answer that after the break. What are the required competencies to be manifested by the HR practitioners, supervisors, and managers in addressing the gap between personal growth and career development in reference to good employee experience? Oh, yeah. Alam ko, may masasagot yan. So let's have the break first, Direct.
Have you been dreaming of launching your own podcast but don't know how and where to start? Let ValuePod Productions podcast editing and management services help you effortlessly launch, syndicate, and grow your podcast. Message us at facebook.com/ValuePod Productions. ValuePod Productions podcast editing and management services, humanizing personal connections through podcasting.
Direct, can we have that poster wherein we're supposed to invite? Yes, these are the various TNC now um, programs from Mondays to Saturdays. We invite you to watch it, and it's so interesting. And you can use your gadgets while you're doing it, and then you can just watch and listen to it. Thank you, Direct. Okay, let's go back to Patrick. Okay. Patrick, can we now continue? There is that what you call a question. Parang nasa school, Patrick, listening to you, ay nako, gustong-gusto ko na bumalik sa class, and then I will be your student. I'm learning a lot from you. I'm learning a lot from you. So may questions ito si Past President Obet. What are the competencies? I think nakikita mo yan. And then this
Yes.
is nice kasi the HR, yung mga HR practitioners will learn from this on what they need to have so that they will be able to develop a culture on their organizations.
Yes. Thank you, Sir Jess, and thank you, Sir Obed, for the question. No, what I always say to my students when I teach HR class is that whatever competencies we learn in HR, whatever competencies needed for us to perform people management, will always address both personal and professional areas in our lives. No, palagi ko sinasabi na lahat ng natututunan natin sa HR are very much applicable in our personal day-to-day lives. No, and to answer the question on what required competencies for us to be an effective for us to be able to balance that personal and professional growth for our people is of course referencing back to I'm sure everyone's familiar with the model of Dave Ulrich, no, yung strategic partner, change agent, admin expert, and even employee advocate. And so those four could be your core areas in or competency sets. No, so you can have series of competencies that address strategic partner role, or competencies that address admin expert role, competencies that address employee advocate role, and of course competencies that address change agent role. All these competencies gives us that capacity to be able to look into the concerns of our employees or our people, and at the same time, provide responsive or whatever interventions that is needed for them to experience these meaningful moments in their lives in the organization. And while we are talking about competencies, no, and on the general sense, we understand kapag ka HR ka, you have, of course, these general competencies that you need to have. But when you are in a specialist role, of course, there are even more detailed competencies needed for you to be able to perform that specific role. No, so we can actually look into, of course, maintaining those specific competencies, but of course also addressing or making sure that on the general competencies required of all HR practitioners, we are able to address these four areas. Strategic partner, employee advocate, change agent, and admin expert roles. And in some way or another, we will be doing that even in our personal lives, like we said sa mga students. So this is a learning for us, not just on a professional level, but also on a personal level.
Ang problema, Patrick, kung nasabat ng isang I'm mentioning it in the dialect in Tagalog kasi parang maganda pakinggan. Kung nasabak ng isang when you're already there in the thick of it, sometimes nakakalimutan na yung competencies na yan ng isang HR kasi you're more on the transactional rather than on the other things, 'di ba? On what is really needed, 'di ba? Yun on taking care of people. I would like to mention I was the president then, and uh, Obet was the IDP immediate past president. We invited Dave Ulrich, Patrick, in 2016, and in that we invited them. It was in PICC, and then the chairman of the PMAP convention was Leo Helor. Okay, he was my vice president. And doon niya he launched his what they call his competencies. Yung di ba na siya, the one that you mentioned, he actually, that is the original, and then he has a new parang he went on some more expanded it, and then it and ang naalala ko, it starts with what you call it's credible activism, and it ends up with being yung technological partner. Yes, that is actually needed. As an HR guru, we really have to a word ko is abide. We really have to follow what Dave Ulrich suggested to us, and then develop that as our competencies so that we will be able to address the needs. Di ba? Kasi yun nga ang tanong ni PPO, but ang daming ang gusto mong gawin, ano ang competency mo na dapat i-develop so that you can be able to address it. Yun na nga, binigay na sa atin ni Dave Ulrich. Yun, yes. Okay, then we have here Jerry Plana. The pandemic has changed the priorities of many employees. Total well-being is at top of the list after realizing that a lot of workplaces are toxic and literally causing employees to get sick. Yes, but PP Jerry, alam mo itong work from home tapos work on site, and then yung galing dito sa sa gobyerno, yung AWA, yung alternative work arrangement, galing yan sa inyo and then that one of the hybrid. Ang daming gagawin ng HR, but it is causing a lot of concerns with the employees. What is Dole doing to create better workplaces? Yan, more aligned with this new profile of employees. Allah, ayan na yung tanong. We're not putting you on the spot, pero please answer that, Pat.
Yes, sir. Yes, I understand naman po. But of course, this is of course my personal view of what the department is doing. No, it has already issued several issuances that prioritizes health concerns. No, kaya po nag-strengthen tayo sa compliance with public health standards. Aside from occupational safety and health and the general labor standards, we also incorporated public health standards or protocols. No, so that's actually one area that the department is looking into, ensuring that our workplaces are safe and secured for those who will be reporting back in the physical offices. But at the same time, I think there is a lot of things need to be done, especially in the area of understanding these new employees, the type of arrangement that we are having now. And what I would, but probably what the department should do is to really assess or do further studies on paano yung interaction with these new types of employees, new types of employee arrangement and engagement, and of course coming up with policies that will be more responsive to that aspect. Kasi of course kadalasan ang perception natin sa department kapag nag-i-issue ng policies and guidelines are more on regulatory and we need to comply and all of that. No, but of course the department should also look into understanding ano yung current situation, ano yung demographics, ano yung physical situation, and ano yung level ng technological advancement that we have in the various organization. And actually, trying to understand the question also gives us an idea na there is it's also important to look into yung makeup ng buong economy natin, no? Especially when sa practice ng HR, kapag kasi tinuturo ko rin po sa mga students ko palagi na when we are going to practice HR, it will not be how we teach it in school or how we discuss it in school, no? Because in the world of work, no, iba-iba ang setup ng HR, and it is basically influenced by, of course, yung sizes ng establishment. We have 99% on micro, small, medium enterprises, and just 1% na large enterprises. And with that type of establishment or classification of establishment, we can already see ano yung HR needs, no, na meron sa ganung klase ng mga establishments. And that, I think, is also what the department should look into and try to understand how HR could be more helpful for the employees, especially in this time of pandemic.
So what I'm getting from you, Patrick, is that it's fluid. It's either depends
Yes.
on it depends on how on your situation. It can be, say, work on site, work from home, AWA, or hybrid. So is there do you have any plans coming from Dolly wherein you're going to have specific guidelines on this? None.
Well,
So it's fluid.
siguro po kung sa guidelines ito, we're still not sure about that. No? But what I can say is that, for example, in our organization, sa Institute for Labor Studies, no, we're already doing a lot of research, no, that are related to the future of work. No? And we're trying to look into how technology influences work arrangements, employment relationship, and all that. No? Kasi nakikita natin na ngayon, marami ng mga uh, parang nuances or things that we cannot really clarify whether it's black or white and all that, no? So yun yung kailangang area na kailangan pang pag-aralan ng department, especially kapag pinag-usapan na natin, for example, yung platform economy, the gig economy, those who are engaged in yung mga food and service delivery riders, no, or those who are doing freelance work and all that, no? So iba-iba na yung mga employees na in-engage ng mga organization, and we need to look into that and how we can make sure, no, that the experience, no, would still be meaningful for them. Medyo ang hirap po yung dollar.
Pero ang civil service, meron na specific guidelines on AWA. Yung may Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, may Tuesdays. Ano sila, may mga particular eh. Nag-come up
Yes.
sila eh. Pero sa DOLE, it's still fluid. Can we read, there is a post here from Jerry. Can we spot it on direct? Kay Jerry Plana. Direct. Bad leadership is a major cause of unnecessary stress and sickness. You should read the book Dying for a Paycheck. Tells how toxic workplaces are literally killing people. Does Dolly have jurisdiction on leadership?
Ang hirap sabihin yun. And I would say, no, I think po, on my personal knowledge, walang jurisdiction ang DOLE sa leadership and management aspect ng isang organization. No? But
Yeah.
just to give a comment on bad leadership, no, pala yung last time po na discussion natin on employee experience and how we can actually come up with all these cultural, technological, and physical environments directed into that particular state or vision for our organization will always be initiated by top management. No, it will always be about the top management. Dapat sila yung namumuna kapag may introduce tayong change, and it's very difficult, no, to influence that point or getting that point, I think, no. Of course, we have a lot of organizations have a lot of priorities, and we need to make sure that everything is cost efficient and it is beneficial for the organization. But what we're saying, no, is that all these initiatives that looks into improving employee experience should be initiated by management, should be owned by HR, no, and should be driven by our line management, and should be championed by everyone.
Oh, I like those statements. Quote to go, Coach Patrick. Ang ganda ng sinabi mo.
Morgan sa nabasa ko libro. We actually learned from a lot of people sa HR practice, kaya very interesting po itong discipline po na ito talaga.
So ang gustong sabihin mo, it's actually now, it's a concern of each organization to really develop their leadership. Kasi makikita mo, yung culture building nga, yung di ba sa OD, it comes from the leadership, di ba? At ang tinatanong nga ni Jerry, does government have any, any, what do you call this, connect? Tinasagot mo, parang wala. So talagang, dito talaga sa the culture building or should actually be part of what you call this, the development of leaders in the organization. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Ang pero ako, babalik pa rin ako sa tanong dun eh. Say, nakuha na nila na there is already data, there is already a review, they're doing something. Pero talaga ang tatanong ngayon, considering the pandemic, how will you reinvent and develop it? Di ba? Yung culture, we are still in the culture. You're still in the culture. Madali dun sa sinabi mong technology. They can just, if
Yes.
they have the budget, they can just get one and then depends on their needs. And then of course, they must have training. Madali rin dun. What's the other one? The workspaces. Yeah, that's,
Yes.
workspaces, or workplace and workspaces. The other one is that coming up with the arrangement na, pero mahirap din, Patrick, yung workspace kasi coming up with who will be work from home, who will be work on site, who will be hybrid, and who will be working, and mahirap din yon. Pero ang mahirap nga kasi is the culture. Kasi ang dami mo ng culture na titingnan. Culture of the one working from home, culture of the
Yes.
one working on site, culture of the one that is just going there to meet the hybrid, and culture of the one that is going there for yung alternative work arrangement. So yun ang mahirap nga eh. Natitingnan natin. So
But I think, sir, yeah. Sorry,
yes,
sir.
yes, yes. You're saying
I think,
something.
sir, yeah, I think yung concern natin kung ano yung culture ng nasa work from home and culture ng hybrid and culture ng those reporting in the workplace, no, gives us an idea that the value, the culture that we want to create is a culture that is applicable to all, wherever we are in the organization, whatever arrangement we are in, and these are principles or values that will be applicable nga to everyone. For example po, yung feeling valued or feeling part of the team, no? To operationalize that, there are a lot of ways to do that. Pwedeng may regular session kayo ng team meeting or
No, I
huddles and
think
all.
alam mo yung sinabi mo, I think that is just one that can yung parang initial a
Yes,
start. Just letting people feel valued, yun lang, 'di ba? Yeah, may
yes po.
sinasabi dito si Virgie, Dole can only come in when there are labor disputes. Maybe those who are classified as PWDs should continue work from home in call centers. Siguro.
If I can
Nabibasa
comment po on that,
maybe those who are
Sir Joe.
classified as
Yeah.
PWD should continue working from home. Yes. Oo naman, oo naman. Pero yun na nga ang mahirap doon na trying to, bago na ang pangalan na hindi na the Great Resignation, the Great Attrition, nabasa ko ha. The Great Attrition, ang reason nga is, it's actually starting in the Philippines, you are getting accustomed to it. May mga kilala ako na ayaw na, Patrick, magbalik sa office kung ipapabalik sa office. Na-accustomed na working
Yes.
from home. And these are
True.
BPOs. I am a training consultant of one BPO. Ang problema, ayaw na bumalik yung mga tao kasi they were able to do it successfully
Yeah.
while working from home. And
Convenience, sir, kasi siya.
convenience. This is a BPO in BGC. Ayaw na sila bumalik. Ang problema nila, kung yun kaya nga Jerry, Obet, and ikaw, siguro isama natin si Rick. Can we have a session next Saturday? I hope you still have time. And we discuss nga yung parang reward system, going into a reward system. Pero we start with the three, what do you call that? Dimension, components, aspect, yung tatlo. I'm interested in that. To share that to kasi galing kami ni Pipi Obet sa isang webinar with the leadcom on malasakit and what do you call this, creativity and innovation. Ang parating na at the back of my mind, nakikinig nga yung mga HR, these are the young HR, pero saan sila mag-uumpisa? Na-hit mo kanina na aside from the competencies which is Ulrich's, na-hit mo kanina na they have to look into that. The foundation is actually anthropological, sociological, and psychological. Na dapat so can we discuss it on the first part of our discussion next Saturday, and after that we go into yung total rewards, hindi yung compensation and benefits. I would like Jerry to be with us and PP Obet kasi galing ito kay PP Jerry. Sino dapat ang bigyan ngayon ng rewards? Yung bang working from home or yung working on site? Yun. Hindi naman yung reward sa yung compensation na absolute amount. It's actually yung sino ang bibigyan mo ng ay mayroon na nga kasi di ba yung I know of companies, organization wherein hatid sundo ang tao. And it's more
Yes. Yes.
expensive hatid sundo ang tao. Di ba? Okay, may
Yes, sir.
sinabi dito si Virgie, what will the BPO do to employees who don't want to go back to office but would prefer working from home? Yun, dapat yun, challenge ka ni BP. Dapat mag-come up na yung yung dole. Ay, pakisabi doon kay kay Yusek. Oo nga, I know of a sasabihin ko yung pangalan ng HR. Di ba nag-text sa akin. Ang problema nila, Patrick, ang di ba return to work ngayon ang ang mga activities ng HR a lot of their executives pa naman a lot of their executives would rather work from home. Na-custom na 1 year na kaya. And then
Yes.
they are successful and they are what do you call this? Okay, so
Effective.
Patrick, can we have your parting message? And then I would like to see you again on Saturday. Do it time with some friends of ours. Then we can have a conversation. Okay, Patrick, your parting message.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, of course, yung discussion natin today on creating meaningful experiences for our employees looks into the three moments, no? Probably call it significant moments, no? Yung mga specific moments, ongoing moments, and created moments that we can actually influence, provide intervention, no, and manage it more effectively, no, so that we are actually creating more meaningful experiences for our employees. And of course, we continue transforming HR, adopting practices that are more responsive, no, in the world of work today to make sure, no, that we are yeah, creating more meaningful experiences for our employees. Yun siguro, sir, ang aking parting message for
Wow,
today.
thank you, Mr. Patrick Patriwarawan. Yes, it's not only that he is from Dole, but he is a professor in UP Manila. And it actually inspires me kung gusto mo lang, pwede mag-sit in ako, makinig sa kanya because I'm learning a lot. We need, I got it from my mom. And of course, from PP Obet and PP Jerry, we are those kind of people that we enjoy learning. We have that culture of learning, and then these are new inputs, and then I am happy for it. So for everybody, HR, yun, kailangan po natin, you have to be updated. We have to be updated. And what is actually our concern now, the employee experience, and we have three, the workspaces, and then that one of technology. But the most critical is actually culture. Kasi ang tanong ko nga, where will you start? How are you going to develop it? And how are you going to reinvent it? Kasi may naka-align doon sa engagement and employee experience. Mahirap noon, you can come up with a lot of activities and programs, hindi naman appreciated kasi wala naman doon sa culture ninyo. Tama ba ako, Patrick? Tama ba ako doon? Ang dami kaya ngayon, ang dami kayo. Di ba? Para bang pinasundo mo na, nagkasimangot pa rin. O, di ba? O, di ba? O, di ba? So, you spend a lot, you create a lot, but if you were listening to us earlier, ang kailangan actually is you get the factual, relevant data so that you can review and come up with new ways. Ang naiisip ko ngayon, it will really a big task. Siguro kailangan ito magturo kami ni na Jerry at kasama ka na Patrick is how to really put that together to somebody who is actually working as an HR. How are you going to put the only thing now? Alam mo noon, it is just a passing topic na you need organizational development. Now that we have the pandemic and we are going into a new normal, you need to have that culture. What culture? What culture? And then, of course, we have different arrangements ngayon eh. So I just mentioned it. Anong mga culture na i-develop mo doon? And then, of course, ang mahirap niyan, kung nag-uumpisa na doon sa baba, it's a bottom up. The culture is already starting, Patrick, from the bottom, and it is affecting the leadership. And the leadership na bulaga. Hindi mo pa alam, mayroon na pala silang click doon sa baba. So I think we need to work on this as fast as we can so that come up with kasi wala even if government is allowing us na wala ng curfew, pwede nang pumasok, yun na nga ang sinasabi, still people don't want to go to the offices, and we have ang dami kasing ang dami kasing alternatives eh. We can hybrid, yan ang pinakamaganda, hybrid, then AWA, then work from home, yun nga. And then that one of work on site, at sino pupunta doon. Pero nga, anong kultura na ano mo? Kasi nakikita na. Now, last statement, to be blunt about it, it's because people now are tired of just after the productivity, the results. Di ba you're just after, kaya sinabi kanina ni ni Pipi Jerry yung bad leadership eh. Di ba? You're just after trying to squeeze people into coming to produce something. Nakalimutan na they're also human and they're also trying to produce things, di ba? Okay. Sasabihin ko yan. Alam mo, nag-birthday ako, Patrick, di ba? Thank you for greeting me. Pero alam mo, madami sa akin nagregalo. I really feel blessed. Pero alam mo kung sino ang rinigaluhan ko? Katulong ko. Kasi nagparinig sa akin, nasira daw yung cellphone niya. Binili ko ng cellphone. So ganun lang, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share that with you. Na you have to take care of your people. Hindi ka na dapat sabihan. Hindi ka na. Dapat narinig mo lang eh, nasira. You ba, nagkusa ako. Di ba dapat ako yung nagregalo sa akin? Hindi. Ako nagregalo sa kanya. So, ganun siguro ang mag-umpisa. Kasi naririnig ko, Patrick, yung sinabi mo, personal growth kanina. I was listening to you. I'm learning. Siguro ganun po muna ang titingnan natin. So, I think my thought is here, mindset. All HR must have that HR mindset so that we can really have the correct culture that we would want to our organization. But of course, ang daming sabi nga ni Patrick, align it with your values, ang dami nun. Siguro pagbalik natin, we'll ask you, Patrick and Jerry, to come up with a list kung ano talaga gawin. This is just to help the HR practitioners. Please do. Come up with a list on what they are still, the review. A review. Okay, with that, thank you very much and see you again on Saturday. I am learning a lot from you, Patrick. Sa
Thank you,
lahat
sir,
kong
for having me.
nag-videos, mabalos po.